Texas baseball takes on the Texas Tech Red Raiders at home. Texas softball hosts the Oklahoma State Cowgirls in a top 15 matchup and the top 5 moments the last 4 years at the University of Texas. This is College Press Box Senior Show here in Austin, Texas, and we'll be coming up. Hello, and for the final time as a volunteer, welcome in to College Press Box. I'm your host, Daniel Shih, for the night, and we have a great panel for you. Joining me is my good friend Thomas Fitch, who will be joining as a baseball analyst. Hannah Burbank joined as a softball analyst. And Henry Corwin will take a look at the Texas sports highlights in the last 4 years. Now, why 4 years? It's because this is our time here at University of Texas as we graduate in the next couple of weeks. So get your cameras ready and let's get it started. We're starting at the UFCU Dish Falk Field, where the number 3 Texas Longhorns hosted the number 11 Texas Tech Red Raiders over the weekend. The Red Raiders had a quick start. A 3-run 5th inning in Game 1 gave Ty Madden his second loss in the series opener. On Saturday, the Longhorns had a go-ahead run on first base with bases loaded in the 8th. That's when the weather stepped in and postponed the game to Sunday. And the Tech came out on Sunday and got out of the jam and took Game 2 and the series. Coming into Game 3, the Longhorns look to avoid a Big 12 sweep for the first time this season. So let's head over to the dish for the highlights. We start in the top of the first inning, a jam for Texas Longhorns. Bases loaded, nobody out, but they get the good old 5-2-3 double play, and they only gave up 1 run in the top of the first. Top of the second, we go Easton Morrill with the opposite field line drive. That will drive in a run from second base. RBI double, Texas Tech up 2-0. Bottom of the second inning, though, Texas fighting back. Ivan Melendez with a fly ball to right field that drops, and that's a base hit. Melendez goes to third. It will be a triple, but the ball is way offline as it comes to the infield. That will be counted as an error, but Texas still scored their first run of the game nonetheless. And then Trey Feltin with 2 men on base goes to right center field. That's a base hit. Both runners come in to score. Texas now grab a 3-2 lead. Bottom of the 6th inning, men on first and second. That's a bunt back to the pitcher. Throws way offline, and that's another run for the Longhorns. They're up 6-2. And then bottom of the 7th inning, Douglas Huddle the third one more time. That one is driven to left field, and bye-bye baseball. That's a grand slam for the Texas Longhorns. They blow this one wide open, and the score is 11-3. Joining me now is the founder of 1-0 Sports Show, the Friday morning talk show that we have at TSTV. Is Thomas Fitch. How's it going, Thomas?
Daniel, senior show, so glad to be on with you one more time.
Yeah, it's that time of the career, I guess. But let's get it started with Texas baseball. Now, they hosted the Texas Tech Raiders at home, and they dropped the first 2 games, the first Big 12 loss of the season in terms of the entire series. So what went wrong?
Well, you look at Madden gave up 5 earned runs at the first game, 6 total runs in the game. But for me, what went wrong was something that wasn't even the Longhorns' fault. You look at what happened in the second game. Horns trailing 5-3 going in to the bottom of the 8th. They get bases loaded after 3 straight walks, and then weather suspends the game until Sunday. They have all the momentum. The Tech pitchers, are reeling. They're not feeling great. That was the Horns' chance to get back in the game. Instead, you start back on Sunday. The Tech pitchers have had a night of rest. They get the easy out to get out of the jam. Tech comes back and wins that game. And so when you look at that, it's like, that's not a Longhorn thing. That's solely a weather thing, and that's just bad luck. So I think when you look at this series loss, it's not as bad as it maybe looked on paper.
So you're looking at this, again, this first Big 12 loss in the series throughout the season. It is against a top 15 team in Texas Tech Red Raiders. But then you're looking at Texas now looking from the outside into the Big 12 championship in the regular season. So how big of a setback is this series loss?
Honestly, I don't think it's that big of a setback. Personally, I kind of don't like heading into a big tournament like the NCAA tournament on a winning streak. That's not saying you want to be in a bad place. You certainly want to have momentum, but I think sometimes teams can come in a little too confident. And I think this game reminded Texas that they got to do a little extra to win. They can't just coast to every victory. So obviously you don't want a series loss to give you that, but I think it might be good for the Horns to realize they can't just coast to a Big 12 title and to the national championship game.
And as we talk about, I said earlier that they're looking from the outside. But the leader in the Big 12 regular standings right now is TCU, and Texas is playing TCU this weekend in the 3-game series. So Texas now coming in, do you think they still have a shot at the Big 12 title?
I think they still have a shot, but I think for them to have a shot, they really need to get the sweep. Without the sweep, they still have a chance, but it's going to be tough to sweep TCU on the road. TCU on a roll, they're up to number 3 overall in the rankings. But this is a really complete TCU team. The pitching, the batting, they really have it all. And so when you have such a complete team like that, it's so hard to get a sweep, especially on the road, and especially in Fort Worth, where TCU plays so well at home. But if the Longhorn bats can get hot again like they've been, I think there's a chance of a sweep. I think more than likely Longhorns should just be trying to get the series win.
Yeah, and we're looking at the Big 12. It's such a deep conference. They had a rough start to the season in the Big 12 SEC matchup in the College Classic up there in Arlington, but the way they bounced back, and now you have multiple teams in the top 15. It is a very deep conference, and Texas TCU will be having a really great matchup coming up this weekend. For the final time, Thomas, this is your baseball analyst. Thank you for coming on the show. When we come back, we go across the road to Red and Charlene McCombs Field for some softball, and you never, ever want to miss it. Welcome back to College Press Box. Number 7 Texas softball took on the number 11 Oklahoma State Cowgirls in Austin last weekend. It's thought to be an intriguing matchup as the Longhorns and the Cowgirls were just 2 games apart in the Big 12 standings coming into the weekend. And now we head to the Red and Charlene McCombs Field for the series opener. Top of the first restart, runner on first base, and Haley Busby for the Cowgirls. She's a line drive to left center field, and that is a base hit. Shanine Facker scores all the way from first base. OSU up 1-0, but they're not done in this inning. Sydney Pennington with a runner on second with a fly ball to right field, and it hits the wall, and that's another extra base hit. Busby scores from second, an RBI double. Oklahoma State Cowgirls up 2-0. Bottom of the fourth, we go. Mary Iacompo for the Texas softball team goes to left. Bye softball. That is a solo home run. Texas get on the board. They trail though 2-1. Top of the 6th inning, the Cowgirls grab their run right back. Allison February with a line drive to left center field. Another home run. Bye softball. And the Oklahoma State Cowgirls now grab a 3-1 lead as we head to the bottom of the 7th inning. 2 outs and grounder to second base. The Cowgirls finish this one with the score 3-1, and they win the series opener here in Austin. Hannah Burbank now joins me at the desk to break down some Texas softball with their sweep over the weekend against the Cowgirls. Now, after taking the series opener, the Oklahoma State Cowgirls will go on to sweep the Longhorns, like I said earlier. It's the first time that Texas lost 3 straight Big 12 games at home. So what happened to Texas?
Well, it's safe to say that it was a rough weekend for Texas. We knew it was going to be a tough series with OSU ranked number 2 in the conference right in front of Texas. So it was going to be a battle, and unfortunately, it just did not go Texas's way for a number of reasons. First, there was a lot of mistakes in the details for the Longhorns. In Friday's game, Lauren Burke, a junior for Texas, after hitting a double, was called out for missing first, and that cost Texas a run. And in a tight game where they lost 3-1, every run is crucial. Their batting average was 87 in the second game, and Texas also had multiple fielding errors throughout the weekend. Those add up, and Friday's game was actually the first loss this year where the Longhorns out-hit their opponent 8-6 and still lost. It really goes to show that they have to be consistent on both sides of the plate, especially against good teams like OSU.
Yeah, coming into this series, Texas softball had very good offensive stats, and it looked like this team was built on offense, but that just didn't click throughout the weekend. But that being said, again, tough weekend for the Longhorns. You look at this roster, though, it's very young, and you might be looking further than just the 2021 season. So which player should we keep an eye on for the foreseeable future?
Well, right now there isn't necessarily that Miranda Ellis star player at the moment for Texas, but there are some promising players. And like you said, they are fairly young teams, so there is time to develop. One of those players being Shih O'Leary, a sophomore pitcher for Texas. She's been putting up some numbers this season. She made 8 relief appearances this year. Her ERA is sitting just under 2 with 88 strikeouts. And in April, she was named the Big 12 Pitcher of the Week. So she's an impactful player for Texas, we're seeing, and still only a sophomore. Another player is junior Janae Jefferson with a .439 batting average. She's a consistent force for Texas, and she went 1 for 3 on Sunday to come within 6 hits of breaking former Longhorns' career hit record of 254. She's just on the brim of breaking it, and I really think she'll be able to do it by the end of the season. She's definitely a key player for the Longhorns.
Yeah, and looking at this team, now they have one more shot for Texas fans to see them in Austin. They'll be playing the Baylor Bears on Friday. On the Saturday and Sunday game, remember those games will be in Waco and not in Austin. That being said, how do you see the Longhorns finishing the regular season?
Well, it's definitely going to be another good series this weekend. Both Baylor and Texas have similar records. The Longhorns sitting at 9-6 in the conference, Baylor at 8-6, so it's pretty even. Baylor will be going into the weekend coming off of a series sweep against Kansas, where Texas will be going in after getting swept by OSU. So they're going to have to create some momentum early on. And it's also important that they clean up those fielding errors and mistakes that they made against OSU that ended up in a lot of runs for the Sooners. The Cowboys. And last time the Longhorns and Bears faced off, Texas came away with the sweep. But it has been a minute since they last played each other, so they can't get too comfortable. But I really think if the Longhorns clean up those mistakes and be consistent throughout, they'll come out with the results they want.
Yeah, if you look on the bright side, Texas softball is undefeated in the Big 12 versus teams not from Oklahoma. So they will be playing the Baylor Bears, who are in Waco, not in Oklahoma. Should be a good series for the Texas softball fans. Good analysis from you, Hannah. Thank you for coming on for the final time, I guess. Coming up, Henry Corwin reflects on Longhorn sports in the last 4 years. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back. And as a student journalist being at Texas for the last 4 years, we had some ups and downs in terms of results, in terms of what we want to see. We went from Dicker the Kicker, sending Texas into an oblivion at the Cotton Bowl, to Cody Clemens, sending Texas baseball to Omaha back in 2018, and Eddie Reese finishing his tenure at Texas with a high note. To break them all down, here is Henry Corwin.
Thank you, Daniel. Well, you certainly hit the nail on the head that we've had some ups and downs here as students at Texas, but it's my pleasure to deliver one last Unhooked segment here on College Press Box, and what better way to cap off my TSTV sports career than by giving you an unhooked of my top 5 Texas sports moments in my 4 years as a student. Now, this is key before I have anyone call me out when this gets published. This is my top 5, as in I needed to experience the moment in some way in order for it to be on the list. So, for example, Texas's defeat of Georgia in the 2018 Sugar Bowl is an honorable mention, but it's not on my list. Why is that? Well, I was in Israel during this game, so I didn't even watch it, so I have no experience with it. So before I start, another quick honorable mention. This was the most excited I've ever been at a men's basketball game, and I'm actually not kidding. We'll take you back to December 2018. Texas was up big on Grand Canyon, and the walk-ons come in the final minutes. Walk-on Drayden Whiteside with the mini in and out, makes his defender fall, and hits the three. It was so exhilarating, and it felt like I was back in a high school gym watching someone make someone else fall. So let's start out. Number 5. I got to give a shout out here to the Texas men's tennis team. And this is really not talked about enough, Daniel. I actually covered this team for the Daily Texan, so I have a bit of a connection to it. But basically, Texas was in the midst of the uncovering of the college admissions scandal that included their coach at the time, Michael Senner, who was later convicted to have taken bribes up to $100,000 from a venture capitalist to get his son admission into UT Austin. So what makes this interesting is Senner was fired mid-season, and even after all that drama and unrest, the team still went on to win the national championship. So, I mean, talking about a tale of resiliency and staying focused and having the heart of a champion, so much credit to that team. I feel like I had to mention that. All right, so now on to number 4. How about just this past March? And I'm not talking about the loss against Abilene Christian. I'm talking about the women's team's journey to the Elite Eight was quite a ride for Longhorn fans. Riding the waves of this year's #1 pick in the WNBA draft in Charlie Collier, Texas had stunning wins against UCLA and Maryland as underdogs. And in Vic Schaefer's first year at the helm of the women's team, he certainly showed that there's reason for hope in the near future for Texas women's basketball. Number 3, take me back to February 24th, 2018. This is Texas men's basketball against Oklahoma State. My dad was in town visiting me for the first time at UT, so this is why this is a special game to me. With Texas down 1, Kerwin Roach drives in and finishes to to give Texas the 1-point lead. Oklahoma State's half-court heave is no good, and Texas wins by 1. And at the time, Texas needed this win to keep their hopes alive for making the March Madness tournament. Fortunately, they did not end up making the tournament, but at the time, clearly it was a huge win because it kept them in the running for a bid to the dance. Number 2, we will go back to a lot of moments here from 2018. We'll go to Texas versus USC football. The air was electric here. There was a record set for attendance at DKR with over 103,000 fans. USC was ranked number 22, and Texas just gave it to them. After going down 14-3 in the first quarter, Texas turned on the gas, turned off the brakes, and won the game 37-14. It was a huge win for Texas to make them 2-1 in the season and to put them on the map that year with the top programs that year. I don't believe that Don't Stop Believing, no pun intended, was here yet, but still, regardless, it was still an incredible moment with all those fans as a student. And finally, number 1, nothing can top this for me. Texas against number 7 ranked OU in 2018. Sam Ehlinger versus Kyler Murray. Texas gets out to the huge 3-touchdown lead. It looked like it was over, but here came OU's offense. They had 2 solid drives for touchdowns in the second half, sandwiched with a Kyler Murray 67-yard touchdown run. But not at 45-45. Here comes Dicker, the kicker, with 14 seconds left, the freshman, stepping up for a 40-yard field goal, and he drills it. I was watching this game at the Dallas State Fair, the beer garden packed to the brim with probably 70% Texas fans. I had never felt more pride than to be a Longhorn at that moment. Came back to campus that Monday, and everyone was buzzing about it. My first 2 professors even mentioned in their class, so just a great moment as a fan and student. And given that that was the only win Texas had in 5 tries in my tenure as a student against OU, Daniel, how could that not be number 1 on my list?
That is a good one. I'm going to toss you a question out of the blue, not in the script. I just want to make sure that we're going to improv this. Which game, you've covered a lot of games at the Daily Texan and TSTV, and hopefully one that's not on your top 5 we just talked about, but which game that you covered was your favorite?
That's a good question. So none of the games I covered actually really had like crazy endings, but I would say overall, I really enjoyed covering the volleyball team. I covered them a lot last year, and not only were they really good, they were really nice girls, like a really fun team to just cover. And in the press conference, I asked them questions, and so I can't pick out like a specific game, but in general, covering volleyball was a great experience. And the national runner-ups this year as well for the volleyball team. Well, thank you, Henry, for coming on. We'll be seeing you in D Block as well as other seniors. On the other side of the break, we bring you up to date with all the sports news all over the 40 acres and beyond. Well, for the actual final time, welcome back to College Press Box. And I actually lied to y'all earlier. This is not the final time we were seeing Thomas Fitch and Hannah Burbank earlier. They're back, and so is Henry. We're back. Yes, sir.
It is weird. It felt weird to say it's our last time coming back on College Press Box just now. But we'll be doing what we did normally for the last block of the show. We'll be bringing you updates all around the 40 acres, and for this week, beyond the 40 acres. That being said, we will be each taking turn, giving you the news. I'll start, and then we'll go to Hannah, go to Thomas, and HNC to finish off this week in Longhorn sports. So I'm going to start with the Longhorns and the NFL draft. 5 Longhorns got picked up during the NFL draft last week. Offensive lineman Sam Cosmi was the first Texas off the board, drafted by Washington football team in the second round, which was 50th overall. Joseph Osai also drafted in the second round by the Bengals for the 69th overall pick, which was a very nice pick. Tyquan Graham, Ken Stearns, and Sam Ehlinger round up the draft class for the Texas Longhorns on day 3. Texas' 5 picks in the 2021 draft was the most since 2015 and tied for most among Big 12 programs.
And now we'll go to Austin's very own MLS soccer team. Austin FC is on their first winning streak in franchise history. After defeating the Colorado Rapids last week, Austin FC took on the Minnesota United FC on the road, where Diego Fagundes scored the only goal of the game in the 17th minute to put Austin FC up 1-0. And Austin never looked back. Austin FC scored their first ever clean sheet in the MLS while keeping 60% possession throughout the game. And they will visit the Sporting Kansas on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. You can catch the game on FS1.
Back to the 40 acres. The number 2 rowing team swept all 4 races versus the number 3 Virginia Cavaliers. In those races, the 1-8 team set a new course record. This is Texas's second dual sweep of the season. The first was on April 10th against the then number 7 Michigan Wolverines. The Longhorns will host the Big 12 Championships on May 16th. Teams included in the competition are Oklahoma, Kansas, Kansas State, West Virginia, and conference affiliates number 12 Tennessee and number 13 Alabama.
This week in Longhorn sports, Friday we have men's and women's tennis versus NCAA. The first and second rounds, that is to be announced, where it will be shot. Softball versus Baylor at 6 p.m. That will be on Longhorn Network. Baseball at TCU, that will be at 7:30 p.m. on ESPNU. Saturday, we have men's and women's tennis again. The NCAA first and second rounds, again, to be announced. Look at that. We got some track and field versus Aggie at the Aggie Invitational. We have baseball at TCU at 2 p.m. That will be on ESPNU. Softball at Baylor, 3 p.m. That will be on Big 12 Now on ESPN+. And then finally on Sunday, we continue with the first and second rounds for men's and women's tennis. Baseball against TCU, 1 p.m. That will also be on Big 12 Now on ESPN+, as will softball at Baylor at 1 o'clock p.m.
Well, that is it. It is that time for us. Wherever you're from or wherever you've been listening or watching, thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to watch our sister shows, College Crossfire, this Wednesday at 9 p.m. when the new Tournament of Champion will be crowned. And of course, the 1-0 Sports Show this Friday at 11:50 a.m. this morning, which will be also a senior show for us. So you still have one more shot to see us on TV. From all of us here at TSTV, including Director Matt Marinchek, department directors including Jaxie Pigeon, and Assistant Director John Kelly, and all of the people behind the scenes throughout this semester, including the 4 seniors, Thomas Fitch, Henry Corwin, Hannah Burbank, and myself. Thank you for following us throughout this tough semester in the past 4 years. See y'all in the fall, and you'll be seeing them, and not us, but see y'all in the fall.
Well, actually, the show is not over yet. Seniors, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you for all you've done for TSTV for the past couple of years. Daniel, I know he was sports director last year. He did a great job, especially managing things during this time of COVID-19 transition to the digital world. I'm really appreciative of Daniel. He taught me a lot with running College Press Box. Did a great job helping the department as a whole. Hannah, Henry, and Thomas all learned a great deal from all y'all. You guys are all going to have a great legacy from TSTV Sports, and I look forward to seeing what you guys do in the future with your careers. And now, we want to pay a small tribute to you guys with the senior video.
Second seed in the Kansas City region, the Longhorns will host the first and second round of the NCAA tournament.
Men's swimming and diving team have won 4 consecutive national championships.
Texas was looking to pick up their 6th win in conference, go 2 games back of first, and get out of the tournament bubble.
Good evening and welcome to College Press Box. I'm your host, Hannah Burbank.
I'm your host, Daniel Shih.
Good evening, Austin. I'm your host, Henry Corwin.
Welcome into College Press Box, the most comprehensive sports show on the 40 acres. I'm your host, Thomas Fitch, joined alongside Daniel Shih.
Maybe this is because I'm a freshman, but the cannon. I don't like the cannon.
Oh, wait, you don't like the cannon?
I can't.
You don't like
I have to.
In the middle, first time ever on College Crossfire, Daniel Shih.
The Rook.
Freshman.
The Rook.
How's it feel to be on for your first time?
It's nerve-wracking, but I think
You'll be perfect.
I think I'll stay alive.
You'll be good.
No,
You'll be
I
good.
won't
You won't die. I can guarantee that, unless if Matt Adams pulls something out of it. I don't know.
Daniel, always glad to have you on the show with your expert analysis. In your expert analysis, what happened to this team against UCLA?
Where do I start?
Put the camera on me right now.
I think they do that.
The New York Mets, they have gotten off to a terrific start. They're pitching well. Matt Harvey's pitching well. Syndergaard showing up. DeGrom showing up. Ahmed Rosario, top prospect. He's playing well. Yoenis Cespedes. There is no excuse why the New York Mets can not only be a great team, but win the National League East.
And senior quarterback Sam Ehlinger played a key role in making this last-minute victory possible for the Longhorns. And Ehlinger has broken many records during his time here at Texas, with one of the most recent being that he is the only Texas quarterback to throw for 5 touchdowns in 2 consecutive games.
Hello and welcome into the very first episode of the 1-0 Sports Show. I'm your host, Thomas Fitch.
Channel. Banner Stephen A. Missing the cigar. Dallas Cowboys. A couple weeks back, Cowboys were 3-0. And I told y'all, they're overrated.
Johnson and Sam Ehlinger, as we know, are brothers. Do you think that they have stepbrothers, I should say? Do you think they have a chemistry? Stepbrothers. Yeah, stepbrothers. Do you think they have a chemistry because of that bond?
Are they maternal or paternal?
Paternal.
Paternal. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
With sports leagues around the world being canceled or suspended, CPBL now has a global spotlight that's unprecedented throughout its history. And in baseball terms, the pitch is coming right down the middle, and the CPBL is hitting the home run. From Taipei, this is Daniel Shih, TSTV Sports. Here in Houston as well, and at Minute Maid Park, the home of the 2017 World Champion Houston Astros, and we're so glad to have one of the key contributors to the championship here with us. And we're going to start the interview right now. So how's it going, Chief? Obviously, not a ton of wear and tear, maybe just a little bit of wear and tear here and there, but obviously not a ton, and obviously that shows that he's only in there for a couple of games. Let's interview this guy. So how's it going, Chief?
Texas football took off for their first conference game of the season up in Lubbock against Texas Tech. And what an entertaining game that was. Both the Longhorns and the Red Raiders entered the game 1-0. Texas was favored to win the game by almost 18 points, but that was not the case. The Longhorns narrowly escaped with the game in overtime. Texas battled against Oklahoma State on Saturday night, but despite double overtime, the Longhorns could not pull out a win over the Cowboys.
No, it's not a preview of the Super Bowl 54 because neither of these two teams are going to be in the Super Bowl. I mean, I think it's obvious they got to have their own reality show. I mean, with Baker and Odell and some of the other characters on this team, I mean, I just think a reality show, I don't know if the reality show would compare to the NFL, but clearly they don't know how to play football, so they might have to, just be themselves and be a reality show. Saturday, we have TNF, track and field, Arturo Barrios Invitational at College Station.
Until next time, I'm Daniel Shih along with Thomas Fitch. Have a wonderful evening.
I'm Hannah Burbank. Have a great night.
In the studio, I'm Thomas Fitch, along with Daniel Shih. Have a great night.
I'm Henry Corwin. Good night, Austin.